Hidden Valley Raceway. We welcome you to the capital city of the Northern Territory. It's round 4 here in sunny Darwin for the Yamaha Motor Finance Australian Superbike Championship presented by Motor Pirelli. This picturesque city known for its Kakadu National Park, its crocs, its tropical climate, and of course is host to this beautiful circuit. 2.87 kilometres in length, it has 14 corners, a 1.1 kilometre main straight, and makes for some very fast racing and quick lap times. It's Josh Waters who holds that lap time, a 1:05.9, and he also got the clean sweep in 2017. Hello from Emma Francesco and Steve Martin. Welcome back to beautiful Darwin. Certainly one of the favourites on the calendar.
Well, it certainly is, especially at this time of the year when it's nice and hot up here. Most of the riders come from down south where it's freezing cold, so we love coming here.
As do I, so I'm very, very happy to be in this heat. Now it's getting to the pointy end of the championship. Great to see that it is so exciting and so competitive in all three categories.
Yeah, and we talk about the weather being hot, but I think the action on the track today is going to be awfully hot, scintillating in fact, so it's going to be a pretty good day. Before
we get into all of that racing action, let's get to know this track with our very own Steve Martin. This is Hidden Valley Raceway.
Hidden Valley. The track's not the longest, and it's definitely not the twistiest. But one thing's for sure, the racing here is action-packed. Our riders are hitting speeds of about 280, 290 kilometres an hour down the YMF straight. It's one of the longest in the country, and that means you need big brakes heading into turn 1, Motul corner here. There's a couple of different lines through this one. You can go tight or wide, but one thing's for sure, and imperative, you need good drive on the way out. It's a quick blast. Out of Motul corner, through the YMI, AGV flip-flop and into Pirelli, a place that's proven to be very controversial in the past. If you get it right though, you carry that speed through Pirelli, down into the YMF hairpin, defending your line. So this is the valley part of Hidden Valley. The tightest hairpin on the circuit. Hairpins are normally pretty easy, but not this one, it's quite tricky. You've got a couple of different lines, and then heading out on the Kawasaki straight here, the riders really struggle to keep that front wheel on the ground. The last sector here is like joining dots, flowing from ripple strip to ripple strip, through Suzuki and down into KTM, the final braking opportunity at this circuit. It's not all about the braking into KTM, it's also about the drive onto the straight. Some get it right and some get it wrong. If you do get through KTM okay though, it's all about keeping tucked in behind the screen, keeping your competitor behind you and getting over the finish line first.
Well, front row of the grid, we have Troy Baylor starting from pole position with Troy Herfoss and Brian Starring on the outside in the front row of the grid. The second row of the grid will be Wayne Maxwell, Josh Waters and Daniel Falzon. And look out for the fast-starting Josh Waters. He'll be keen to make amends for what has been a difficult weekend so far. The third row of the grid, Jamie Stouffer, Glenn Allerton and Mark Chiodo. A very strong third row of the grid there. Fourth row of the grid, we've also got Matt Walters, who was knocking on the door of getting on that third row, right behind Mark Chiodo, and doing a good job there. And also Arthur Cecis and Glenn Scott making a return to the Australian Championship on row 4. Row 5 would be Kyle Buckley, Heath Griffin and, sorry, that just flicked over. It was Kyle Buckley, Lachlan Epps and Mitch Rees on board the Honda. So row 6 coming onto the grid now. We're ready for a start. The revs rise in Darwin. Can history be rewritten once again in the Northern Territory? Troy Bayless gets away. Great start from Brian Starring too from the front row of the grid as they come down. Arthur Cecis has also got a blinding start on board bike number 61 and will be well placed as they come through turn 1 for the first time. But it is Troy Bayless that leads with, is that Josh Waters in second place. A great start on board the Suzuki X-Star machine.
Yeah, that was an incredible start by Josh Waters. Qualifying doesn't mean a thing now. Waters is where he needs to be. But look at Bayless. He's already got a couple of bike lengths, but there's a gaggle of bikes there. Wayne Maxwell's there. Daniel Falzon's in that group too. We know how fast he can be around there. Maxwell up the inside into the hairpin, takes over third position, runs wide, and Brian Starring takes it right back as they head up Kawasaki straight.
Yeah, Mark Chiodo has also got off to a great start on board board bike number 30, sitting back in about 5th or 6th position. In fact, he may have just got the better of Daniel Falzon as well, so he's moved up into 5th, and Maxwell is looking very desperate to try and find his way past Brian Starring as they come through YMI corner and down the hill through Suzuki and into the KTM corner. And it's Josh Waters getting that great start. He wasn't fast off the line, but he was extremely fast into turn 1. And look at Troy Bayliss. He has got a very handy lead as they come round to complete the first of 18 laps.
Yeah, that's an incredible job by Troy Bayliss. He's already got nearly a second lead over the rest of the field, but how fast is that Kawasaki of Brian Starring? He's just nipped up the inside there. Marcus Kyoto just a bit wide into turn 1 there too, but Brian Starring takes over that second position at the moment, so brilliant job by him. A little faller. Someone's down in the background there. We'll let you know who that is in a minute. Not sure. I couldn't see the number on that bike, Phil, but Maxwell now up the inside.
Yeah, Maxwell up the inside, but Josh Waters went from 2nd to 4th at the turn 1 at the start of that second lap. So it is Maxwell that's gone from 4th up to 2nd and then back to 3rd as Brian Starring moves his way. There is so much chopping and changing of positions there, and look at all of the riders starting to queue their way up. Herfoss looking pretty desperate on board bike number 17 as well in that group to try and find his way past. He did not get the best of starts, and that's what Emma said to him on the grid. That's what you need to do, and unfortunately there we've got a red flag which has stopped this race.
Okay, that's
that will be that incident down there on the exit of turn 2. It looked like a pretty heavy crash for one of those riders.
Yeah, I'm not sure who that could be. Jamie, is that 27? It's 94. I think it could be Mitch Rees down there on the edge of the track. He's had some sort of high side moment, so looks like we've got the race safe crew heading straight to him, so
there we go.
Good to see.
Have a look at a replay of that incident, but yeah, it was that's the end of it. You can't really see much because there's a lot of dust there, but it was in the tail of the main field as they made their way out onto that out of Modal and onto the YMI drive up towards AGV there. Can we rewrite history once again? Troy Bayliss starts from pole position, Troy Herfoss from 2nd, the revs rise, we're in the starter's hands and we're away. A great start. Let's keep our eye on Brian Starring and also Josh Waters to see if they can replicate those great starts from race number 1. There's Waters. Mark Kyoto's got a great start. Another CC's, another blinder on board bike number 61 as they go down in towards turn 1. It is Bayliss that leads.
Yeah, Josh Waters didn't get the same start he got in the first part of this race. Marcus Kyoto was right on the rear wheel of him, but it's Bayliss with Brian Starring now right on the back wheel. Bayliss with less of a lead than he had first time out. Starring looking up the inside, and there's Troy Herfoss. We didn't see much of him before.
Now he's got a much better start than what he did in the first one, Troy Herfoss. He'll be thankful for the red flag stoppage because he's now sitting in 3rd position. After CC's in 4th, then the first of the Suzuki X-Star machines, Josh Waters back in 5th place, and his teammate Mark Kyoto not too far behind. Glenn Allerton also pretty well placed off the start as well on board the Next Gen Motorsports BMW S1000RR.
But where's Wayne Maxwell? He was up there at the start in the first part of this race, but he's nowhere to be seen. He's back there. He's got a lot of work to do in 6th position at the moment. So both him, Daniel Falzon as well, his teammate just behind him, a lot of work to do.
Yeah, as they make their way out onto the Yamaha Motor Finance straight for the first time. Bayliss leads as they come across the start-finish line. He had a 0.4 second lead over Brian Starring and Troy Herfoss, but the former teammates last year, so Herfoss and Starring, doing a great job on board their machines as they make their way through turn 1 to try and keep Troy Bayliss in sight, and doing a much better job than what they did in the first start of this Superbike Race 1.
Yeah, Bayliss is super fast through that first sector, through Motul, up in the YMI corner and AGV into Pirelli. He really is the man to beat in that sector.
And speaking of that section of the track, Josh Waters has put a big move on after CC's and now is in 4th place, and you can tell the Mildurian's got his ears pinned back and trying to reel in this first group of 3 that had just started to break them away from the rest of the field.
Yeah, fastest man though on that first lap, 112.1 was Troy Bayliss, so a good opening lap by him.
A 112.1 from a standing start is a pretty good way to get your day underway. It looks like Glenn Allerton has also made a move past Daniel Falzon as well. So Allerton on 14, the 3-time Australian champion, up ahead now of the South Australian on board bike number 25 in his first year on board the factory Yamaha.
Yeah, it's really good to see Glenn Allerton coming back into the form with the Next Gen BMW team. He really is coming on song lap after lap, and he's made a move there. He is, like you say, Phil, just up the inside into Modal. Leading now. Oh, we got someone wide there. Was that Marcus Kyoto a bit wide? Glenn Scott there as well in the back. Good to see Glenn back in the championship. He's fully fit now. not 80% fit like he has been for the last couple of years, Glenn Scott.
You know who's also got off to a pretty good start is Al Phillips, who's been struggling for most of the weekend. He's found his way up into the top 10. Him and both Mark Chiodo and Al Phillips having a pretty good battle at the moment. But Bayliss leads, but not by much, because we've got Brian Starring and Herfoss right behind.
Yeah, Phil, just caught up with Phil Tatum from the Team Suzuki X-Star. We saw Josh get up to second position a little early on. They have given me the nod, A-OK. That bike is good to go.
It's good to see that you've got the thumbs up there from Team Suzuki. It's interesting to see the bike's A-OK, but he's not up in that leading group. There's a bit of a gap now back from Troy Herfoss to Josh Waters.
Well, Wayne Maxwell was in the slipstream of Josh Waters there, pulls out to the side, but I'm not sure there was that much difference in the top speeds there. It was only towards the very end of the straight that Maxwell was able to pull out of the slipstream of Josh Waters and force his way past.
The thing with this circuit, Phil, 1.1 kilometre long straight here, there's a lot of slipstream effect, especially at the end of that long straight. So he used that to really good effect and slipstreamed his way past. He got a good drive out, and you can see it here if you look in the background there. He's already pulled out and got on the brakes a little bit later as well. Wayne Maxwell makes the move past. Nice clean move into Modal Corner there. Takes a nice tight line on the entry of the corner as well, so there's no way that Josh Waters can nip up the inside. Then he also keeps it tight, although he's taken the wide line there to get good drive out of Modal. There's a few of the other guys out there. Matty Walters in that group as well. Good to see. Phil Chai still out there, Adam Senior as well. Glenn Scott, Sloane Frost is there. Mitch Levy's having a good run there too, in 14th position at the moment.
Now, something must have happened to Matt Walters, because he's back in 20th position at the moment, and he's been knocking on the door of top 10 all weekend. So he's obviously had a problem or not got a good start in this first race, and making his way back through the field now. And also his fellow mechanic at Kawasaki Connection, Brad Swallow, is a couple of places ahead of him. That won't be good for bragging rights back in the workshop on Monday morning.
Well, Brad Swallow might find himself out the door if he's not careful.
Or a promotion.
A promotion, that's probably the way forward, isn't it?
He's at Allerton now, right onto the back of Josh Waters as well. So Allerton is certainly on a charge here on bike number 14, the Next Gen Motorsports BMW, and that bike is certainly not slow in a straight line. As they come onto the straight, Allerton pulls out of the slipstream as well. Can he find his way past? He does, and the bike looks pretty composed down in towards turn 1 as well. So Waters has gone back now to 6th position.
Well, Allerton was equal fastest with Troy Bayliss that last time through. He did his fastest lap, so Allerton is definitely a man on the move forward at the moment compared to Waters, but Waters seems to be just struggling a little bit with his lap time, doesn't he?
Yeah, and also not struggling with their lap times is Brian Starring and Troy Herfoss, who both put in their fastest laps of the race on that last lap, trying to keep Troy Bayliss in sight. But even though they put in their fastest laps, they were only doing the same lap times as the man that leads on board bike number 21, the Desmo Sport Ducati, the 3-time Superbike World Champion, Troy Bayliss.
Yeah, they have to do more than keep with him now. They've got to catch him because he's got a bit of a lead. He's out to just nearly a second, 0.8 of a second now, that lead. Once again, there's Glenn Allerton just making forward motion on the man with the number 1 machine on the Suzuki.
Well, and Falzon is also closing in now on Josh Waters and trying to find a way past. We saw that it was a pretty even match between this Team Suzuki X-Star machine and the Yamaha Racing Team R1 down the front straight. Bayliss, as he comes into that corner, he often takes that slightly wider line middle of the corner, but it doesn't seem to slow him down at all, and he gets great drive out of the corner as they come through YMI and up towards AGB.
Yeah, it looks like it's a flowing corner, but it's not. You dive in and then you tip out. There's a couple of the Kawasaki's. That's Matty Walters.
Yeah, workshop dominance has been resumed, and Matt Walters now ahead of his workmate Brad Swallow.
That's good to see. He's making his way forward. I feel a bit sorry for Matty Walters though, because he's obviously had some sort of issue and had to fight his way back through through the pack. But he's had a very rough weekend, hasn't he? A lot of mechanical issues that they've had to sort out with not, as you can imagine, not all the equipment you need this far away from home. But of course, the Matty Walters team, they're doing a great job.
Well, they actually thought on Thursday afternoon that the weekend was over for the Swan Insurance Superbike team, that they would be taking no further part in this race meeting. As we mentioned, a bit of bush engineering, and the bike is back on track and going well, and Matt Walters has actually worked his way back up now into 16th position. The second of the Team Suzuki X-Star machines, Mark Chiodo on bike number 30, having a great battle here with Arthur Cecis on the very standard, as we heard, with the chat with you earlier on, Steve Martin, Suzuki GSXR, that's still got the standard Suzuki suspension in it. That's two things. One, a great advertisement for the current state of superbikes that you can buy off the showroom floor, and a great advertisement for Arthur Cece's riding ability.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt that he knows how to ride a motorcycle.
That's it. Down to you, Em.
Bit of an update on Jamie Stouffer, guys. He's all okay. I just spoke to his son Max, but he may possibly have a bit of a lower leg injury. Not sure if we'll see him for the next one.
Thanks, Em. Great to hear that Jamie is A-OK, and I'm sure he'll be cracking jokes down in the pits sometime very, very soon.
Yeah, and we wish him all the best, of course, and I mean, let's hope it's nothing too serious, because he is definitely on a roll at the moment, as is this young man, Mark Kyoto. He's really starting to come to grips with that, taking that wide line through Motul Corner as well, just so that they can get the good drive out of there through YMI and AGV flip-flop.
Yeah, well, Josh Waters back down to a 7.2 on that last lap, so there must have been a small problem on that last lap, but he's doing a good job now. Lachlan Eppes back into the pits on board bike number 183, so an early finish in Supersport, and it would appear to be an early finish in Superbike as well for the rider returning back from overseas.
Yeah, he's had to ride the whole weekend without any of his electronic aids working on that bike. It's a bike they just bought from the wreckers. Bit of a slide there from Bayliss. You just see that he really is starting to push, and guess what? That gap is coming down, Phil.
Yeah, on the last lap, Starring was 0.2 of a second faster, and Starring and Herfoss, the former teammates last year, were separated by 0.02 of a second in lap time as they came round to complete lap 8. As they come around to complete lap 9, Troy Herfoss has actually set his fastest lap of the race with a 106.231. And also all of them within the 106.2s and 106.3s. But as you mentioned, they've got to be going faster to try and catch up to the 49-year-old that currently leads this race. And is he on track for his first ever ASBK victory in 2018?
Well, he's looking pretty good at the moment. Like he's, as far as Troy Bayliss goes, he's not moving around that much. He's almost looking like he's on a qualifying tyre out there. He's that smooth as far as Bayliss goes. You can just see the bike moving around a little bit, but I think he's got pretty much everything under control at the moment. Of course, Brian Starring, he hasn't won a race yet, and he's got to be feeling pretty hungry out there. Yes, hasn't won for a while, I mean, since Phillip Island. Of course, a podium last time out at Tailem Bend, so he needs to make this count, and he is.
He's doing a great job, as we mentioned, with some new tyres for the BC Performance X-Star team this weekend. Let's get down to Emma for an update as the riders start lap 10. Can head down to Race Safe and get a bit of a massage and manipulation by Mark Backway and be ready for the next race. But Starring and Herfoss are starting to close in on Troy Bayliss now. We are going to be set for an epic last 6 laps of this race. They're coming round to complete lap 11. There'll be 5 laps to go at the completion of this one. And Starring and Herfoss are closing in on the last lap. Once again, the fastest of the 3 was Herfoss in 3rd position.
Yeah, well, Herfoss yesterday in the really hot afternoon qualifying did his fastest laps on lap 7 and lap 8 of the tyre. So he's got that Honda dialed on worn tyres. So keep an eye on him. If anyone can come through, it's going to be him.
But all 3 of these riders are actually only lapping about 0.2 of a second off their fastest laps of the race. The fastest lap of the race so far is a 106.1 for Brian Starring, and on that last lap they were all 106.3s in the first 2 positions. But Troy Herfoss, once again, fastest man on track, a 106.162, his fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, and getting close to the lap record set by Josh Waters last year, 105.9. So last year they actually went faster in the race than they did in qualifying, so it was pretty impressive by Josh Waters last year to do that. But you know what? Nobody's thinking about lap records at the moment, especially not Troy Bayliss.
Well, here comes Matt Walters looking to try and make a pass on Mitch Levy on board bike number 68.
And he's made that tight line work for him. Look at him. Mitch Levy's run a little bit wide there with the wide line, but the number 12, Matt Walters, uses that mid-corner speed there and through turn 1 and gets past Mitch Levy.
Yeah, so Matt's up to 12th place now on board the Swan Insurance Rover Coaches Kawasaki Connection machine. Let's go back down to M.
Guys, just checking in with Calvin Ryan. Brian Starring doing a fantastic job, but can he catch Troy now?
Well, I don't know, I suppose. This is the first time we actually raced here, so on this tyre, so this is all new to us. And twice I can't thank Dunlop enough for what they've done for us over the last couple of weeks since Tailem Bend. And as you can see now, we're actually gradually getting there. So to be honest, this race is anybody's in this heat. You know, the two Troys, they're riding superbly, and Brian's obviously in there as well for a shout. So let's see what happens over these last 4 or 5 laps.
Hope to see you on the podium. Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
It's Kelvin Riley. I think he's trying to keep the excitement in check at the moment, but it's all looking pretty good for Brian Starring and the two Troys, Troy Bayliss and Troy Herfoss. As Matt Walter starts to pull away now from Mitch Levy, but the big question is he's got a pretty big gap that he's got to try and make up now to Glenn Scott to try and move up another position.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for him to do that, to catch up to Glenn Scott. Unfortunately, you know, he needs to not make a mistake, or whatever happened at the start of the race has put him in that position. He's doing some good lap times out there, able to pull away. But meanwhile, back at the front, guess who's joining the party? Troy Herfoss there with a little bit more edge grip by the look of it. Gets tucked into the slipstream there at Brian Starring's extremely fast ZX10.
Yeah, as they make their way down the straight, you can see Herfoss is just glued to the back of Starring's machine, but can't even make an overtaking manoeuvre, even in the slipstream from the BC Performance Kawasaki, as they, on the last lap, they were all separated by only 0.3 of a second. Once again, though, Troy Herfoss, the fastest man in the top 3, as he tries to drive up the inside there on a bit of a change of line.
Watch Herfoss. He's looking for a way past now. Can't do it into there.
Well, Brian seems to be able to get the run up the hill there, but Herfoss was late on the brakes, and he's good up here in the hairpin. Can't try and find a way past. Bayliss was wide. Bayliss was very wide through the YMF hairpin as they drive out through the Kawasaki corner. He seems to have been able to pull the difference in. Is it once again Bayliss doing the come in wide, run wide, and then get on the gas and fire it out of the corner?
No, that was whoops, I didn't mean to be wide there. And now they're all together on track, and they're coming up to some back markers as well. Not what they need. So, but look at that. Number 98 has moved over to the side.
That was Evan Biles doing a good job there to get out of the way and let this top 3 through as they come round. They'll complete 14 laps. There is 2 laps to go for our top 3.
Look at Herfoss. Herfoss is through up the inside on Brian Starring. That Honda is fast.
Yeah, but Herfoss also was rubbing elbows with Brian Starring there as they went past as well. He timed that run to absolute perfection down in towards turn 1, and he's now got his sights set on the other Troy, on the other red bike, our race leader, Troy Bayliss.
Yeah, that was a great move by Troy Herfoss there, and at the right time of the race. Not long to go in this one, so if you're going to give Troy Bayliss any curry, you've got to do it now.
Well, as they come down into the YMF corner, Troy Bayliss was a lot more composed on that occasion than what he was on the last one. Didn't run wide, got good drive out of the corner towards the Kawasaki corner. Now this final run up the hill and towards the Suzuki corner that comes down into KTM to end off this race. They go through YMI. Look at Herfoss, he's closing in. He's closed in a fair amount just through the last 3 corners on board bike number 17, the Penrite Honda. But Bayliss is very fast through that last corner, through Suzuki and through KTM, as they come out now to get the last lap board. 1 lap of Hidden Valley to go for Troy Bayliss to create history in the ASBK.
Keep an eye on Brian Starring, though, in 3rd position at the moment. Can he get caught up in that slipstream? But look at Herfoss, he's up there. He can't do it, but I'll tell you what, on that last lap, Herfoss was really looking at different lines to try and find a way past, and I think he's going to attack this time, Phil.
They are riding harder than they have, but their lap times are slower than what they have been for the entire race. They're all up into the mid to high 6s now, with Bayliss a 106.7, Herfoss was a 106.5, and Starring a 106.8.
Look at how close he is now. This is going to come down to the wire. He's going to look up the inside. He's got a tight line. He's right there, but he can't do it. Bayliss defends. He's on the gas. The Honda man's on the gas, but he can't get him through there as they head into the right-hander. It's come down to the next 500 metres, Phil.
Well, and Troy Bayliss is making the Desmo Sport Ducati wider than he possibly can at the moment. Herfoss tries to go up the inside, sneaks the Penrite Oils Honda around. Bayliss back around the outside. Oh, it's epic stuff between the 2 Troys. They come down now through the final corner, through KTM and out onto the Yamaha Motor Finance straight. It is Bayliss that leads. Herfoss in the slipstream. The run to the line is going to be so important. I think Bayliss might have it. His first win in 2018. And Troy Bayliss comes across the line to take his first victory. Herfoss in 2nd and Starring in 3rd. What a race.
Oh, my goodness. Bayliss is back. Did he ever leave? I don't know. He's been in our TV sets for a long, long time, and he's back.
Well, Wayne Maxwell took 4th position. Allerton, as you mentioned, in 5th. Falzon in 6th. Josh Waters in the 7th place, the reigning champion. He won't be happy with that. Look out for a big performance from Josh Waters this afternoon. His teammate Mark Chiodo was in 8th place. What a great result for Mark Chiodo to be only 22 seconds behind the lead. he'll be very happy with that one. Arthur Cece's in 9, and Glenn Scott rounds out the top 10 in his return from overseas and his return to the ASBK. Great to see Glenn Scott back.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to have him in the paddock. I mean, he's been away for a couple of years. He hasn't been that fit with that leg injury, but, you know, that's all sorted now, and good to see him back on his own team, on his own Kawasaki ZX-10, Glenn Scott. Really impressive. 26 seconds off the lead, but nevertheless. But Troy Bayliss, our winner, of course, that was just an incredible result. Kyle Buckley in 11th, Matt Walters in 12th, Mitch Levy got 13th, Sloane Frost, Brad Swallow, Alex Phillips, of course, started in 16th and finished in 16th. Ben Stronach with a good result for him. Mitch Rees, what a race he had as well. And Sam Lambert, the local boy, coming good as well. So all in all, it was a pretty good Superbike race. I don't know what you think, Phil.
Yeah, it was absolute spectacle between the two Troys and Brian Starring, who had a pretty good lead. Maxwell in 4th place was 6.4 seconds behind the lead, so probably 5.9 seconds or so behind 3rd place. But it really all was about that top 3, and they all put on a sensational ride. I think we're going to be in for an epic Superbike race number 2 this afternoon. Well, time to hear from our top 3. Let's go down to Emma, who's in park for May.
Yeah, starting with 3rd position, Brian Starring. Congratulations, fantastic pace today and 4th podium for you.
Yeah, look, I'm a bit disappointed with the race. I was a bit of a sitting duck. I had the pace, but turns out we've got a bike that was good for a lap time, but not so good in the battle. So I couldn't really do much, and I never really got close enough to do anything anyway, to be fair. Anyway, we'll go back to the drawing board. It's still a podium. It's still not a bad result, but...
Still one more race to go to,
we're aiming higher. We'll continue to aim higher. Anyway, look, big thanks to my personal sponsors, Wallace Risk, Berry Sweet Strawberries, and Consent to Go. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, 3rd position, Brian Starring. Well done, mate. Over to 2nd, Troy Herfoss. Fantastic racing, Troy. 2nd position. You got a great move on Brian Starring in those last few laps, and you almost caught Troy. Fantastic battle.
Yeah, I did. I timed it to perfection, really. And just when I was catching Troy and when I was watching him in the race, he was a lot weaker than me in certain spots on the track, and then, man, I didn't time it good enough, and where I thought I was stronger than him, I couldn't try and pass him, and yeah, there was no hope of me making that pass. So, like, he's too strong into that corner for me, and I was just pushing the front, and like, even to try and take him wide with me, you know, it was too much of a risk for both of us, and I would never do that. But yeah, congratulations to Troy, but congratulations to my Penrite Honda team too. They've done a great job, and we had a great start of the weekend. Bit of a lull in the middle, but like we thought, we had strong race pace, and it's just about me critiquing a few things, the start mainly.
Good luck for the next one, mate.
Thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, 1st position, his 1st win for 2018. You also moved to 3rd in the championship. Troy Bayliss, well done.
Thanks, Emma. Yeah, I owe that to our team, all of our sponsors. Big call bringing an old follower on board, and but yeah, you know, between our guys like Ben Henry, Paul Free, and also Byron Draper at Olin's, they've made a lovely bike for me to ride, and like it's so fun to ride it like that. The only problem I had, it messed with my head a little bit. I lost my knee slider on the 3rd lap. Really made it difficult for me. Just every time I put my leg down, it would dig in, and I just had to, you know, get over that and move on.
Can you make it a clean sweep?
I feel pretty good. That was actually a hard race, so it was quite physical. I've been feeling good all weekend, but yeah, I felt that one. I'll do everything I got this afternoon, though.
Well done, Troy.
Thanks, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, Troy Bayliss first in this first race for the YMI Superbikes.
Troy Bayliss starts from pole with Troy Herfoss in 2nd. Brian Starring rounds out the front row. Wayne Maxwell 4th. Josh Waters from 5th. Daniel Falzon from 6th position. Jamie Stouther, who won't be starting from 7th. Glenn Allerton on the Next Gen BMW in 8th. And Mark Chiodo rounds out row 3.
Yeah, he's been sensational this weekend. Matt Walters will start up row 4, along with Arthur Cece's and also Glenn Scott. Kyle Buckley on 83, Lachlan Epps and Mitch Rees on row 5. Al Phillips, Mitch Levy and Sloane Frost round out row 6. And also another notable non-starter in this one, Heath Griffin, who has got some hand injuries and won't be able to take part in this one, as well as Jamie Stoker, his teammate.
Well, it's hot here, but it's about to get hotter, Phil, any second.
It is about to get extremely hot. Well, we've seen history written twice this weekend, Steve Martin. Will we see it again in race number 2? The red flag leaves the front of the grid. Troy Bayliss starts from pole position ahead of Troy Herfoss and Brian Starring on the front row of the grid. The revs rise and we are away. Great start from Bayliss and not a good start from Troy Herfoss. He's been swallowed up by the second row of the grid as they make their way down towards turn 1 for the first time. And Josh Waters has got a pretty good start as well on bike number 1. And he comes down, he'll take up the running in 3rd place behind Brian Starring. But Bayliss leads them through Motul Corner for the first time.
I saw Herfoss there. He shot up the inside, so that was a great move by him up the inside to move himself forward a few spots that he lost off the line. But Brian Starring is right where he needs to be now. Josh Waters, he does not want to go backwards for here. Let's hope that they've got that GSXR sorted.
And 4th place, Arthur Cece's on board bike number 61. Troy Herfoss right behind him, trying to get up the inside. I think Herfoss may have done it to move up into 4th place now, pushing one of our leading privateers out of the way as he makes his way through on the Penrite Oils Honda.
Yeah, good move there by Troy Herfoss. He needs to get up near the front sooner. He was back in race 1 and he got there just that lap too late, so keep an eye on Herfoss. He knows that he has to strive to get to the front sooner rather than later in this one.
Well, Arthur Cece's about to be mugged by Wayne Maxwell, who's on a charge as well on board bike number 47. The former Australian Superbike champion trying to make his way forward now, but he's got a very rapid privateer Suzuki in front of him. I'll tell you what, there's nothing wrong with the power out of Arthur Cece's machine, bike number 61, as he managed to stay ahead of the factory Yamaha of Wayne Maxwell all the way down one of the longest straights we have in Australia. Look at Herfoss. Look at the way he's able to just put that Penrite Oils Honda anywhere on the track and make his way past Josh Waters, and Brian Starring has now got a big target on his back.
Yeah, these are Herfoss conditions out there at the moment. It's hot and it's greasy, and that's when that Honda works at its best. Bayliss needs to get as far away from that chasing group as they can. And I'll tell you what, the man in 2nd place, Brian Starring, knows that he's got trouble when he looks over his shoulder and sees the number 17 machine behind him.
Well, and also too, Arthur Cece still managing to hold off Maxwell, and right behind Wayne Maxwell is Mark Kyoto in 7th place, Daniel Falzon in 8th, Glenn Allison in 9th, Al Phillips rounds out the top 10.
Bayliss a little bit wide there. Bayliss went a little bit wide there. I reckon his foot come off the peg, and interesting to see. Looks like we've had a crasher. Is that Matty Walters that may have just crashed out in the early part of this race?
Yeah,
keep an eye on it. Oh, bit of a moment there from one of the factory Suzuki teams riders too. Not sure if it's Kyoto or Waters, but bit of rear wheel movement there.
Yeah, so Matt Walters actually crashed up at turn 6. Here's a replay of it now as the field comes through. We should see a green Kawasaki just crashing out of the distance back there, and there he goes. Is that Glenn Scott, I think, as well, might have been involved in that one as well.
You can see there that Glenn Scott was going to get, there was something wrong with his bike. He was trying to get it running again. Meanwhile, back up front, it's Brian Starring, he knows he's under pressure. He says he's made some changes to his bike. Well, he better make it work, because Herfoss is looking up the inside, and he can't get it done, but nearly through that really fast-flowing YMI section in the last sector of this circuit.
But remember what Brian Starring said in the post-race interviews. His bike was good for a lap time, but it wasn't good in the battle. But that's what they've made the changes to try and address. And at the moment, he's got a very determined and hard-charging Troy Herfoss on the number 17 Penrite Oils Honda, starting to try and make a way past. Well, we said before in race number 1 that Herfoss didn't seem to be able to pull out of the slipstream. I think he might have been playing a little bit of cat and mouse games with Brian Starring, because his bike is clearly a match for top speed with the BC Performance Kawasaki. And as we know, this new Honda is much faster than the previous model it replaced.
And funnily enough, the new Honda came online at this meeting last year, so it's celebrating its birthday here now. It's been out and on the track here, the new CBR 1000 with lots of electronic trickery that the old one didn't have, and a lot more speed. Last year, they got 2nd, and I'll tell you what, they'll be going for one place higher this time around.
Well, let's go down to Emma for an update from the pits.
Yeah, just watching on here with Dale Breed from Team Suzuki X-Star, mate. He had a pretty good start. He was up in 3rd, just moved down to 4th. It would be so good to see him get a podium.
Yeah, look, we've obviously had a mixed event this weekend, but certainly wasn't what we had last year. But you know, we've gradually made improvements with the bike, and Josh definitely feels more comfortable. I think you know, you're looking at his lap times now. He's a lot more competitive in this race than he was in race 1. So fingers crossed we can get him on that step somewhere. Cool, thanks.
Yeah, Josh Waters actually just set his fastest lap of the race at 1:06.529, and he actually is making pace about the same time as the people that are around him on track, and he's not starting to drop back like we saw him in race number 1. But it is still Troy Bayliss that leads by 0.6 of a second over Troy Herfoss, the man that is the fastest man on track. Just set the fastest lap of the race at 1:05.904, and that could very well be a new lap record for Troy Herfoss at 1:05.986, the previous lap record for Josh Waters. So Troy Herfoss, the new lap record holder at Darwin's Hidden Valley.
Absolutely impressive lap time, especially in these stifling conditions out there. It's really hot, probably some of the hottest conditions we've had all weekend, but we know that that is when that Honda works at its best, and we've been able to see the way that he has been able to keep those tight lines.
And I have to say, you picked it, Steve Martin. You said yesterday afternoon, when the track conditions were hot, Troy Herfoss was the only man that could dip into the 105s, and he's done it again with a 1:05.904 to take that new lap record, and at the same time close the gap down to Troy Bayliss, who currently leads by 0.755 of a second, so he's taken back nearly half a second.
Well, Bayliss isn't too shabby out there either. He's also dipped into the 1:05.9, so pretty impressive for him. And we've just seen Brian Starring do a 1:06.0, so whatever the changes they made to that bike, they seem to be working.
And also on that last lap, Bayliss was actually responded to Herfoss's lap record, and he's gone 1/10 of a second faster. So a 1:06 flat on the last lap for Troy Bayliss to back up a 1:05.9.
That's not bad going, is it, for an old bloke, so they say. But I'll tell you what, we heard him on the grid at the start of this one saying that it feels like the good old days, and I do not doubt him at the moment. He seems to be absolutely on fire. There's Glenn Allerton with the next-gen BMW S1000RR having a good battle out there as well with Daniel Falzon. Daniel Falzon has probably had a weekend that he doesn't want to remember. Perhaps he wants to forget. He's had a couple of crashes. His body's a bit bruised. I think he just needs to get to the end of this one.
Well, remember too that Daniel Falzon was the man that replaced Glenn Allerton in the factory Yamaha team this year, so Allerton on the BMW would love nothing more than to overtake bike number 25 and move up into a 6th position. And Wayne Maxwell is a little bit ahead of them in position 5 on board bike number 47. You can see he's not in that shot. There he is up the road a little bit, and Maxwell is actually trying to stay right onto the back of Josh Waters' Team Suzuki X-Star Australia machine. But this battle between Allerton and Falzon, well, there's a lot more at stake than just a position on the road here.
Yeah, absolutely. They're probably not the best of buddies out there. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe you know better than me, Phil. But, you know, I know that Allerton was a little bit miffed. But the good news for him is he's back to his old family, a place where he's won plenty of championships in the past, the BMW. It's a bike that he loves and a bike that he's getting his confidence back on. And without doubt, we're sure that he's going to do a good job and get back on the podium before the end of the year. But back out front, it seems to be these two guys in a race of their own, because Brian Starring has definitely dropped off the back of that group now.
Well, on the last lap, Bayliss was 0.4 of a second slower than Herfoss. On the lap that they have just completed...
Oh, we've got a faller.
I think that's Mitch Rees on board bike number 94.
Yeah.
Has crashed out at KTM corner. On the last lap, Troy Herfoss was half a second faster than Troy Bayliss. So they're topsy-turving with Herfoss then a 1:06 flat and Bayliss a 1:06.5.
Saw Alex Phillips there in a battle as well with Arthur Cece's just in front of him. Evan Bowles is still in this one too. 90 brothers. Sloane Frost is having a good race too with Kyle Buckley. This is a track where Kyle Buckley didn't have a lot of luck last year. He ended up having a crash with one of the riders with Daniel Falzon. So unfortunately for him, it's good to see him back out on track. But there is that crash of Rees, Damon Rees on his Honda CBR, just lost the front into that final corner, the KTM curve here. Bayliss is taking the big wide sweeping line, and Herfoss has still got plenty of grip on the lean angle. He's able to take much shorter, tighter lines on that Honda. Something that, especially in this heat, you know, like having a bit of a look over the shoulder there, Bayliss. Yes, you do have company.
And once again, just like race 1 at round 1 of the championship at Phillip Island, it is the two Troys battling for lead. The two Troys both on red bikes. The two Troys that have won championships. Troy Herfoss, an Australian champion. Troy Bayliss, 3 times World Superbike champion. Also BSB champion. But he has never won an Australian Superbike championship. And he is desperate to try and do it in 2018. He scored his first race win in race number 1. And he is determined as hell to try and take out race number 2 as well. But at the moment, he's got bike number 17 glued to the ducktail of the 12.99 final edition.
If we look at the results from last year, as we've got another fall couple are there.
That's Phil Char on board bike number 11, I think it is, on board the Aprilia.
Yeah, his RSV4 down the road. If we look at the results from last year, we had a double in the 600 class and a double in the Superbike class. Are we going to see another double? It seems to be the place for it.
Well, we've seen the double in Supersport already with Crew Halliday taking pole position and 2 race wins. And Troy Bayliss comes around now. This will be coming around to complete 10 laps of the 18-lap journey. So we're only just over half race distance. And the top 2 have managed to get away a little bit from Brian Starring.
I reckon that Starring had made some sort of mistake and lost all of that time, because he's still 1 or 2 tenths of a second per lap quicker than the 2 guys in front at the moment. So
and he's been consistent at the last 1 or 2 laps, but he's only taken back a tenth at a time. And, well, then again, Steve, he's got 8 laps to go, and he's only, 1.2 seconds back from our second place man, Troy Herfoss. Time for an update from Emma.
Guys, just with Dion from Penrite Honda Racing Team. Look, it's no doubt that he's fast. He could possibly come second again, but you're not going to be happy with second, are you?
No, I'm not going to be happy. I don't think Troy will be happy either. He's hungry for the win, and he's gonna send it into this race, that's for sure.
Some tough battles out there. Good luck, mate.
Thank you.
These guys with the big trucks, Phil, like the Team Hondas and that, they don't like going home with the smaller second place trophies. They get the big trucks to take the big first place trophies home, and I'm sure that that's on the mind of the team owner down there, Dion Coote, with the Penrite Honda team.
Yeah, but when you have a think about it, Troy Herfoss takes the win in this second race, guess who will still take the overall round victory if he finishes in second place?
Yeah.
That will be Troy Bayliss, courtesy of the pole position point, and that will be a 1-point victory. And from what I've seen, it is a pretty epic championship trophy to be taking home from the Northern Territory.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be absolutely key to one of these guys for sure, but I know that Bayliss wants this probably more than any other race that he's been in. He is so hungry. Can you imagine? Oh, he's run wide there though. Is that allowed number 17, Troy Herfoss, a bit of a moment to get up the inside? No.
What's been miraculous about Troy Bayliss this weekend is if he runs wide, he just seems to be able to put the bike back on the X area of the track to try and get the drive out of the corner. I saw it down at turn 1 when I was watching on Friday afternoon and again yesterday afternoon, and he's looking more determined than anything else, but at the same time he looks to be able to make up for small errors on the way that the bike's handling at the moment, and he seems to have a great confidence to be able to put the bike anywhere he needs.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been a lot of development done to the bike as well since the last round. I mean, Troy is the sort of rider that knows what he wants and what he needs, and they've given him that now, and he's proven that if he's got what he wants, he can go forward. They've put a new exhaust system on the bike as well. That's given them a few more horsepower, and I know Paul Free and Ben Henry down there are probably, along with Byron Draper, they're probably sitting in the pit box right now feeling reasonably confident that he can pull this one off.
Well, I reckon at the moment that Troy Herfoss is just sitting there coming up with a Baldrick plan, a plan that is so cunning that maybe not even Troy Bayliss will be able to outsmart him on the last couple of laps, because for the last few laps, he has been sitting 0.2 of a second off Troy Bayliss's ducktail. The gap hasn't changed. The lap times are pretty much identical. There is literally hundreds of a second between their lap times, lap after lap. And we're coming round now to complete the 13th of 18 laps. So we're getting down now to the dying stages of this race, and tactics will really start to come into play. It's not all about outright speed now. It's more about tactics and where you're positioning your bike on the track.
And Herfoss has got a few more things to worry about than the man in front as well. Bayliss just wants to win the race and go home with the trophy, but Herfoss has got a championship to worry about. He leads the championship at the moment, and if he was to have contact and fall off or have an issue or run off the track, it wouldn't be good for him. So he has to get past Bayliss to win the race, but he has to do it smoothly. So there's a lot at stake for Troy Herfoss here. He can't afford to make a mistake.
Well, he's got a 40-plus point lead in the championship now, Troy Herfoss.
Oh, yeah, he can afford to make a mistake.
Oh, sorry, 20-plus point lead.
20-plus point.
Yeah, I need to get the abacus recalibrated,
okay.
Steve, because...
in that case, he can't afford to make a mistake.
Yeah, 180 to 180.
But here he goes. Bayliss has made a mistake. Bayliss has made a mistake. He's run wide, and Herfoss has said, right, I'm going through. Now we're going to see. He didn't get through. Bayliss accelerated out of there like nothing.
But exactly what I said. He seems to make a mistake, but he can just get the bike back on track where he needs. And Herfoss is now back into the lead. Bayliss back into second place.
Oh my goodness, this is good.
I think we're going to be in for about 4.5 laps of this as they come round now to complete 14 laps. 4 laps to go as they come across the start-finish line. Let's have a replay of that, because that was exceptional racing action. We saw 3 changes of position in only a couple of corners, from the hairpin around to the final area of the track. As they go across the line, it is still Herfoss that leads by 1/10 of a second. Their lap times on that last lap, probably the biggest that they've been. Here's a replay. Bayliss gets into the corner up at the YMF hairpin, foot off the peg, runs wide. Herfoss comes up the inside. Now look at Bayliss. Stops it, turns it, gasses it straight out and goes back into the lead. Herfoss doesn't seem to be having any such drama as he makes his way out onto the straight. Comes around to complete 15 laps, 3 laps to go. Bayliss tucks down. We've seen that the 1299 final edition Desmo Sport Ducati has certainly got plenty of top speed. I don't think he's going to be able to make up the distance as they come down in towards turn 1 though. It is Herfoss. Look how tidy Herfoss is getting in there so late on the brakes. But Bayliss is caught right up onto the back again and is almost sitting on the ducktail of the Penrite Honda as they make their way up through Yamaha, then through AGV and up to the Pirelli corner.
Well, this is Bayliss' sector. This is where he's really, really fast. And look at him, he's caught right up to the back now of the number 17 of Troy Herfoss. He's right there, but Herfoss, good drive out of Pirelli there.
Let's have a look at the front end of Bayliss' bike. Looks like he didn't have the confidence to stick it in there again. He's lost a bit of distance at the hairpin as we go back to this battle between Al Phillips and Kyle Buckley.
Yeah, it's good to see Al Phillips now just battling into the top 10. This is the battle for the top 10. Kyle Buckley in 11th, Sloane Frost just behind him, and Brad Swallow having a good run too. Glenn Scott back in 14th, so Al Phillips with a good result. Qualified 16th. Oh no, Bayliss is off the track. Bayliss is off the track. We said he was having trouble with the front end, and that has put paid to the double win that he was going to have here. He is now just going to be trying to get a podium if he can.
He's back to 3rd place. That could also mean that Troy Herfoss could take the race win and the round win. Bayliss will finish in 3rd position. So let's have a look what happened here. He just straight lined it up. Is that YMI corner?
Yeah,
he was lucky to keep the bike actually off the tyre wall there and get back on track. Oh, a laundry-inducing moment for the 3-time Superbike World Champion.
And it's good news for Herfoss, though, because he has got a massive lead now. 3.85 seconds, Troy Herfoss. He can cruise to the finish line.
Well, Troy Bayliss' last lap was a 13.6, including a tour of the gravel trap up there at the YMI corner, turn 10.
Still pretty quick.
I reckon most people are pretty happy with that sort of lap time. Battle between Al Phillips, Kyle Buckley and Sloane Frost is still on in earnest as the riders will come round to get the last lap board at the completion of this lap. There goes our race leader, Troy Herfoss. He is on his last tour of the Hidden Valley Raceway. So just over 2 kilometres to go now for Brian Starring and Troy Herfoss in the lead of this race.
And there is the number 25, of course, of
Falzon gone past.
Yeah, Falzon has gone past. Perhaps there's some issue.
So Maxwell is up into 3rd place, Glenn Allerton into 4th. So Bayliss slipping back down the field is currently sitting in 7th position.
He must have some sort of major issue there because he was comfortably back in. But you know what could have happened? He could have gone into turn 1 with dirt all over his tyres and nearly fallen off again, you know, because he went into the dirt and probably didn't get much of a chance to scrub him until he went flat out to turn 1 and had another moment.
And back onto the straight because...
let's see if we can see anything in the way that he's moving. But meanwhile, this man on the last lap is just cruising to victory.
And not only is he cruising to victory, he's also cruising to a round victory as well. Troy Herfoss comes to the line, final lap of the second YMI Superbike class, and he's even got time to stop and celebrate Troy Herfoss as he comes across the line and takes the race win. Brian Starring in 2nd place for the BC Performance Kawasaki team, and Wayne Maxwell will just hold off his former teammate Glenn Allerton for the last place on the podium. Maxwell punches the air, but you've got to feel for Troy Bayliss. Glenn Allerton finished in 4th, Waters in 5th, Falzon in 6th, and Troy Bayliss, after leading so many laps, unfortunately finishes back in 7th position on the Desmo Sport Ducati.
Yeah, interesting to see what sort of issue Troy had there because he definitely dropped off the pace by a couple of seconds a lap in those last couple of results. But what a race for Troy Herfoss, and that has cemented his championship lead, increased it, and Wayne Maxwell, what a save. I mean, he was nowhere in the race, but worked his way forward, and it's a result that he needed to get too. Brian Starring with the Kawasaki as well. Excellent job by him. Still need to find a little bit, 3.2 off of the leader over the line, and then you know, I take my hat off to Glenn Allerton. Glenn Allerton, what a result, 4th position, best result that I think he's had on the next gen bike.
Yeah, 4th and 5th for Allerton over the weekend. But Herfoss takes the win by 1.14 seconds over Brian Starring. Wayne Maxwell on the podium as well, his first podium since the last round at the Ben Motorsport Park. Glenn Allerton in 4th place. Josh Waters in 5th. Unfortunately, it wasn't the return to Darwin that he was looking for. Falzon in 6th place. Troy Bayliss in 7th. Mark Kyoto, a great result from him, our leading rookie in 8th place. Arthur Cece's in 9th. And Al Phillips rounded out the top 10 on board his Suzuki.
Yeah, that was an incredible result by them. Of course, number 83, Cole Buckley took 11th position. Sloane Frost in 12th. Glenn Scott on his return, 13th. 14th was Brad Swallow. Ted Collins in 15th. Mitch Levy was out there in 16th. Sam Lambert, Mitch Reeves, and then, of course, the South Australian Evan Biles, who finished and rounded out the field. It was an awesome result overall, Phil, and I'll tell you what, that was a pretty exciting race.
We've just seen an epic race 2 for the YMI Superbike class. Time to hear from our top 3.
Big indeed, Phil, here with 3rd position, Wayne Maxwell. I don't know where you came from in that race, mate, but well done. This is actually your 8th podium for the season. Fantastic.
Yeah, look, we got pretty lucky then with TB making a mistake, and I got held up at the start, and now the guys are gone, so just had to work my way past Josh and got into a bit of a rhythm, and just plus zero for about 15 laps, 14 laps. It's a hard slog, but we got on the podium. Massive congrats to all the guys at the Yamaha Racing Team. We were struggling on Thursday, Friday, so happy to finish up with a podium and get a little bit out of jail and not lose so many points to Troy.
Tad hot out there, right?
Yeah, it's definitely hot. And now it's time to relax, enjoy the last of Darwin before heading back to Melbourne.
Enjoy the after party. Thanks, Wayno.
Thank you.
2nd position, Brian Starring from Kawasaki BC Performance. Was that a smile I saw earlier? Well done. 2nd position. Got to be happy with another podium.
I am, but I guess to be a little bit self-critical, we got to be lucky with Troy coming out there. I was just bringing it home in that second race. I didn't have the pace to run with the front two, so yeah, look, overall we've had a super positive weekend, but a little bit disappointing we couldn't challenge for the race win at the front. Anyway, the team have done a fantastic job all weekend. We improved the bike the whole time, and big thanks to Kawasaki BC Performance and to Barry Sweet, Wallace Risk, and Consent to Go. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Well done. And ladies and gentlemen, in 1st position, fantastic racing. You really pushed hard for that one, Troy. Deserved the win, and you're still sitting in 1st position in that championship.
That was epic. Like I said at the start of the year, racing with Troy is just different. Although it's becoming very normal now, unfortunately for us. But it was a good battle. He got the start and he cottoned on to what was going on there midway through, and we've had such similar pace all weekend, and we're extremely strong in certain different parts of the track, and I just didn't want him to see because in the first race he got me and I thought I had it, but epic race. I hope everything's okay with Troy, and a big congratulations to the Penrite Honda Racing Team and all my sponsors, and I want to say a special happy birthday to Daryl Griffiths, the owner of Shots Nutrition. It's just ironic that we're at the hardest race of the year, and I'm glad to have him on board.
Enjoy the champagne.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, your race winner for YMI Superbikes, race number 2, Troy Herfoss. Make sure in the meantime you stay up to date with everything ASBK at asbk.com.au. Thank you to everyone behind the scenes, to Phil Harlem and to you, Steve Martin. It's been a fantastic weekend in sunny Darwin. We really thank you all at home for joining us, and we hope to see you next time.